Everyone, this is Sarah from SRS Designs, and I have a great tutorial for you today. This is Sadness from the movie Inside Out. Lots of people requested this, and it took me quite a while to work on, as if you've interacted with me at all, you know that my kids are home for the summer, and I just don't have as much time to loom as when they're in school. I can do it during the day. But as you can see from the way I'm holding it, that she's rather large. So here she is against a hook, if you want to see how big Sadness is compared to the Rainbow Loom hook. She's over 1,800 bands, so she is a bit heavy. And the colors I'm using, for light blue, you'll need 526, and this is the neon light blue from Michaels. Ocean blue, which I'm using for her hair and on her shoes, you're going to need 282, and that number is going to vary a little bit based on the way that we attach her hair, so you might need more or less. White, we need 753, so that's more than a pack. And navy blue jelly, 212 for her pants. For her glasses, you'll need 72 black, and I used 1 gray band for her mouth. You're also going to need some safety eyes, and these are 12 millimeter black and blue safety eyes. I got them at Hobby Lobby. You'll need a hook, a stitch marker, some stuffing, and I think that's it. I'm going to keep her off screen the whole time we're working on this because she is rather big, and we are going to start with her head. So you'll need some light blue color. And we're going to start in our standard format with a magic ring of 6. So this is a pretty advanced project and it's going to take a while, so hopefully you should probably have some idea of the basic techniques that we use for Loomigurumi. So I'm not going to go super slow in this because you're going to need to know how to do the basics. So we're going to start with a magic ring, 3 loops around, and we're going to pull through 6 bands. So here's our 1 with a slip knot back in the center. And that is 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last band through the middle is 6. We're going to put our hook under that first stitch that we created. If you want to count to make sure you're on track, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks good. We're going to do an increase in our next row, and that means we're going to do 2 stitches in each of the 6, and that will bring us up to 12. So here is our first stitch, and this is where I'm going to put my stitch marker. Come on there, I'm distracted for a second there. 2. Moving over to our next stitch, we're going to put 2 more. So this is 3, and then the second is 4. The next one we're going to do 5 and 6. The next one is going to be 7 and 8. Have 9 and 10, and our last stitch on the row will give us 11 and 12. I'm so glad Sadness is blue because these neon bands from Michaels that are Rainbow Loom brand are like my favorites. I love them. So here we are back at the beginning. In our next row we are going to increase to 18. So we're going to be doing 1 single crochet and then an increase. So here is that first single crochet, and back on the hook. And our next one, we're going to do the increase. So that means 2 bands of 1 spot. 1 and 2. Next one, we're going to repeat that pattern. Single, and then an increase. So 1 and 2. Repeat again. 1 stitch, and then 2 stitches. Repeating again, moving to the next, single, and then a double. Single, and then a double, a single, and then our last one is a double. Double, I'm saying double, I really mean 2. We're back at the beginning. We got to increase again. So we're going to go from 18 to 24. This is our 4th row. We're going to be doing 2 singles and then the increase. So here's our first. One, and then 2, oops, and then here's our increase. First and second increase. Over to the next stitch. Starting that pattern again, here's the 1 stitch, the 2nd stitch, and then the increase. So that's 2. One stitch, just repeating, 2 stitch, and then an increase. So that's where we're going to put our 2. Single, single, and then an increase. Repeat it again. 1, 2, and then an increase. And then one time that pattern in our last 3 stitches left on this previous row. So we have 1 in the first, 2 in the second, and then the last stitch we put the increase. So 2 bands. Back to the beginning. We're making our top of her head. Oh, we're never going to see it because it's covered in hair. One more time we're going to increase. We're going up to 30. We're going to do 3 single crochets and then our increase. So here's our first. And then we're moving to our second. And then our third. So 3 times. And then we'll do that increase. 1 and 2. So 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, and then the increase. One, 2, 3, increase. Single for 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do an increase. So that's 1 and 2 right to our next stitch. 1, 2, 3, increase, and this is our last set. 1, 2, 3, and then in our last stitch there, we're going to do the increase. And there we go. Now we're at 30. Let's do a row around of 30. So here's our first. And we're going to go all the way around, and it's going to be 30 stitches. It's quiet here at my house. It's after dinner, but before bedtime, and my husband has taken the 2 kids off to the pool. And my son, although he was very excited to go to the pool, was disappointed that I was staying home so I could film. But I wanted to have that hour and a half or so to get started on this. But he said, "You promised I could be in sadness," and I did promise that he could be in sadness. So tomorrow maybe I'll film a little bit with him in it. He remembers when my daughter and I filmed a little video, and he wanted to be in it. So I'm not sure he really understands what it all involves, but let's see how much I can get done with this. He likes to watch, when he gets a chance to watch, videos of people playing video games so that he can learn how to play. He loves the Lego Movie video games. And he did Harry Potter, Lego Movie, Batman, and Marvel superheroes. And we've just borrowed from a friend Star Wars, which he said he played this morning for a bit. He said it was awesome. So he sees those tutorials and he probably thinks they're different than filming a rainbow loom tutorial. So that was 30 all the way around. So now we're going to do 7 more rows of 30 stitches. So that will be rows 7 through 13. So you're going to have 7 rows of 30 stitches all around, and this is going to make the shape of her head. I'm going to pause the video, so go ahead and make those 7 rows, and I'll meet you back when you're done. Welcome back. You should have finished those 7 more rows. So now we're developing a nice head shape. We've got 2 more rows left on the head, and our first row is going to go from 30 down to 24. We're going to do 3 single stitches and then a decrease. So here's that first one. Moving my stitch marker. 2, 3, and then a decrease, which is grabbing the next 2 stitches and making those 2 stitches into 1 stitch. And repeating that process. So here is 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. One, 2, 3, and then the decrease. Oops. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and then here's our last 2 stitches. We're going to do a decrease. Back at the beginning. We're going to do another decreasing row. This time we're going to do 2 stitches. So here's 1. Going to move our stitch marker. 2, and then our decrease. Keep repeating this all the way around. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. And our last set. 1, 2, and then decrease. I'm going to put our hook underneath our stitch marker, and I'm going to make a slip knot to end it, because that is, the head is now done. Now that we have finished making her head, we're going to work on her glasses. So you're going to need black bands. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to take one band, we're going to put it on our hook, wrap it around, grab both of those, wrap it around again, so we have a 4-time cap band. We're going to pull through this cap band 30 doubled black bands. One band on the end of my hook, wrap it around one time, and we're going to pull it on. Put that band right in the middle. And we're just going to continue this until we have 30 bands. And I counted out a little pile of 30 so that I could easily keep, I didn't have to count while I'm doing it. So we're just gonna keep going, and you might want to, well, for this you probably shouldn't have to rewind. You can just pause it and make a second one. If not, if you think you're going to need to watch me do this, hopefully you won't. You might want to make just a quick note of what time the video is on, so that you know where to rewind it to. And you're going to have to pause and rewind a couple of times for the feet, the legs, and the hands, because you're going to need 2 of those, and the eye as we move along. Not very exciting, huh? Almost there. Okay, so that's 30 doubled bands. And what you're going to want to do for this is you want to take 2 bands and you want to pull it through the end of the hook, just like that, just through the first 2 bands. And you're going to take your hook out. So the first set of bands are through 2 bands and the other band is on the hook. And we're going to attach the ends like this, but we want to make sure that you're flat and not twisted like this, so you get a good look on your glasses. So just making sure that you're keeping it straight. You're going to pull it up this way and you take your hook and you're going to put it through that quadruple band, the 4-time cap band. So once you've got it through, I'm going to take those 2 bands that were on the end and we're going to pull the cap band through, and then what's on our hook is going to go through, so that everything now is on our hook. And if you take a look at it on the side, we have a more seamless end where we don't get like a bump and we can make an actual circle. So I'm going to take these 2 bands and I'm going to do a slip knot on them, just like that. So then it gives us a more seamless look, because if you just put it together, it would end up looking like this, and we want it to be more of a circle. So now go ahead and pause it and pause the video and make another one exactly like this, and I'll meet you back. If you have 2, what we're going to do is we're going to attach them to make them look like glasses. So I'm going to take my hook and put it through the middle part of my glasses, just like this, the middle part of one side, and I'm going to pull the double cap band from the other glasses through it. Snag something. Oh, let's try again. Sometimes we do snag. So I'm going to go through here. I must be getting old, my eyes. We're going to pull this double band, these 2 bands through there, just like that. And it's telling me it wants to lay like this, and I will respect it. So I wanted to leave a little bit of a space in between these 2, just like that. Here she has like a little spot there in between her glasses. So I'm just going to leave them just like this. And we are going to pull through these bands once we get attached to the head. So there's our glasses. Now we're going to attach it to the head, and you need a couple of black bands. And so this is the way I want it to lay on Sadness. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to go, I'm thinking of a clock. So 12, 6, this is 3, and this is 9. So I'm going to pull through a black band through 12 and 6 on both sides, and then on one side through 9 and one side through 3 o'clock in those positions, so that my circle has 4 bands through it. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to slip my hook underneath 2 of the bands on either side, and I kind of want to keep it on the inside. I don't want it to be the very outmost band because it'll hide better underneath. So there's that one. And then I'm gonna slip it through another one here. And we're gonna use these to attach. When you're doing these larger Loomigurumis, you can't just do it all in one piece. You get more detail when things are attached, and you end up having to do a lot more work to get things attached. Oh, wait till we do her hair. So now I'm gonna do this other side opposite the middle. And the bottom here. And just like that. And then I'm gonna put one on the side of the glasses. This side has these holding bands, so we're going to use those to pull through and attach, but this one doesn't have anything, so that it doesn't flap, I'm just going to add one to this side here. One black band. Just like that. Okay, so now we have all our bands. So now we want to attach her glasses to her head. And the reason I'm doing it first is I'm positioning basically her entire face off of the glasses. So we'll put her there in the corner so you can see. So I'm going to put her glasses sort of in the middle of her face. Just like that. And get a good idea of where you want them to be. And then when you have them there, and this might be a little bit tricky to see on video. Let's see how I do. Let's attach the first band. So we're going to put our hook in the middle of her head, and we're going to pull through the black band. And you want to make sure that the black band goes on either side of the blue bands so that you can make a slip knot with it. So I'm going to pull the band through on one side. And I'm going to go up right underneath it, making sure I'm capturing another band. And I lost my black. I don't want to do that. This is much harder to do than it was when you're not worrying about people seeing. So, glasses on. That looks good. Okay, so we're gonna pull through this black band here, pull through on this side, here. So once you've got your black band through, you can make a slip knot with it. Oops, pull tight. And that will attach it. So we're just gonna make sure that we're getting a round shape on her glasses, and I'm just gonna continue to do that as we go around the circle. The lenses. So once I get one inside the other, I'm gonna pull it tight. That's perfect. Let's do this one. If you only have about one stitch worth between, it makes it a little bit cleaner attachment. I like the way this one looks better than that one. I went through less. Went through 2 stitches on that side. So let's put this one down. Pulling each side through. And a slip knot. Okay. So I want to make sure that I'm giving myself a little bit of space for her bridge of her nose. And then I'm going to pull through those black bands that were the holding bands attaching the glasses together. So I'm going to pull those through. And there's 2 sets of those bands. So I'm going to grab all of them and bring them through. Just like that. One of them escaped from me. Come back. Okay. And one of the things I forgot to mention is that we need some C-clips. And I'm sure that you're like me and have a billion C-clips. My daughter was making Claire's Wears Ice Baby. And she was like, I don't know if we're going to have enough C-clips. So I pulled out all the C-clips. And she was like, oh, okay. Because like, I have just got like so many of them. So for this one, I'm just going to C-clip it because it's a bunch of bands. And I'm just going to C-clip them. And if it turns out that they're looser than I want, I'll adjust them afterwards. So, yeah, I think it's going to turn out to be looser, but I'll adjust it afterwards. Okay, so let's see. I want to make sure it's even. Nicely spaced. There we go. So we're just gonna pull through. By the way, that Claire's Wear design Ice Baby bracelet that uses all of the C-clips is a really cute design. And if you have some really nice bands, like, you know, Persians or double-sided, you know, dual layer bands, it looks really nice with that. That's a great design. All right, so we're almost done with the glasses. I'm still pulling through. And then our last one is here. All right. I am thinking that this is a little bit thicker there than I want. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to tighten that up. I'm gonna take my C-cup off. I'm actually gonna knot them. I think that will be better. So I'm gonna take the 2, I'll just match them up because there was 2 long ones and 2 short ones. And I'm just gonna go ahead and knot them. So I'm gonna pull one side through underneath so that the knot has something to stick against. Good, because if you knot 2 things in a hole, that's not gonna work. It'll just come right out. I think that will be better. Okay. And let's pull the other one through. I do like how rubber bands are flexible. And you can change up and fix it. You know, my other one, it looked fine the way I was my technique, but this one just needed to be different. Okay, so there is her face. Her little glasses. Oh, I love it. It's cute. Adjusting the shape as needed. Now we're gonna do her eyes. And for her eyes, make sure this, we can hide little black bands that are sticking out later. We're gonna stuff it, so we'll tweak as we go, so don't worry. Okay, for her eyeballs, we're gonna be making a magic ring of 6, and that's what we're gonna use. So you need white. This is the back part of her eye, taking a band, wrapping around 3 times. We're gonna pull through 6 bands. So here's 1. Going back in the middle. And this is 2. going back in the middle. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to put our hook back under that first band like we're ready to start another row, but instead we're going to do a slip knot. We're going to pull tight. Now, when looking at your eye, your holding band that you just slip knotted either points up or it points down. See where it points up? On this, I'm going to hide this band on the inside of this magic ring on the side where it points up. Not on this side. I don't want to drag it over to this side. But I'm going to hide it on this side where it's already sort of pointing down, and that will make the knot hide a little bit better. So I'm just going to slide my hook and pull it through a couple of these bands on the back. I don't want to lose my circle shape, but I want to hide this just like that. Okay, so here's our little magic ring eye, and I'm using 12mm blue and black safety eyes. I found them at Michael's. I'm sure that you can find them at lots of other types of stores. I'm sorry, I found them at Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to put my eye through there. You want to pause the video real quick and make a second little magic ring. It'll just take a quick sec because you're going to need 2. I'm going to put both the eyes through. And Sadness's eyes are very close to her glasses, to the edge. They're like in the middle here. So we're going to find a place that we like them, stick it through, and put the safety on the back. And has trouble, as usual. I have trouble. These. This has a lot that it bands it's going through, so that could be why. I noticed on the other one I had trouble getting it on. There it is. It clicked. Sadness is all in the eyes, right? So you want to make sure you give her super sad looking eyes. Very close to the inside of the lens. If you have a picture of her you want to refer to, that's a good idea. Push the safety back on. Yep, I don't like that. That didn't look very good. I can pop it off and try again. Okay. Sadness. Okay, I'm gonna try right there. There we go. She looks sad yet? So glasses and eyes. Now we need to do her little nose. So for her nose, we're gonna take her skin color bands, whatever color you're doing. We're gonna take 3 bands. We're gonna put them on our hook and we're gonna wrap them around 1 time. And then we're gonna take just 1 set of those bands and wrap it around again. So we've got 9 individual loops. And we're gonna pull through 2 bands. And we're gonna put all that chunk of bands right through 2. And we kind of want to get a little bump. So you want to kind of, you don't want to stretch them out as you're putting it on because you do want it to be a little bump. And her nose goes right in between her glasses. So we put the nose right there. We're going to go on up underneath. Oops. Pull through those 2 bands. And then grab, take a space and grab the other 2 bands and pull those through. And that gives you her little bumpy nose. And you can make a knot. You can C-clip it, however you would like to do it. Since these bands are pretty close, I'm gonna C-clip it to make sure. If you do a knot, it sometimes gets loose, and I don't want it to, so I'm gonna use C-clip. And hey, your nose came inside. That is not allowed. I'm gonna pop that back through. And there's her little nose. She is starting to look really cute. Okay, our next step is the mouth. And I'm gonna warn you that I had very hard time making a little very sad face with a mouth on a rainbow loom. So I'm taking a gray band and I've cut it in half, and I'm just gonna put it underneath her nose a little bit to make the mouth, to make a sad mouth. And I'm gonna do it the way I do most of my Loomigurumi smiley faces on my kawaii projects. Only this time I'm doing we're gonna do a sad, you know, a frown instead of a smile. So I'm gonna stick the band through, and she has a little, you know, little frowny. Let's see. Sometimes your bands don't line up exactly with where you would want a frown to be, where you want their mouth to be. So just stick it through, and we're gonna readjust it as we move on. Ugh. It doesn't want to work for me today. That's actually, that is really good. I like the look of that. So I'm just gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna make a knot on this gray band. Just like that. And as we go along, what I ended up doing to make it frown was I ended up pinning it on the inside with another band so it would pull down into a frown shape, because it kept popping up into a smile and sort of ruining the look of my sadness. Okay, now we're gonna do her hair. And the hair is a little bit free form, so just go with what you like the best. And if you're discovering a different way that you like it better, then you just go with that. So this is how I did it. Sadness has a part that's in a little bit off to the center of her eyes on this side. So what I did was I took my hook and I went underneath one of the loops, and I pulled an ocean jelly band through, just like that. Now I'm going to make a chain of hair that's going to go from this point down toward her glasses on the edge right here, because her hair sort of comes very close to the glasses, and this is going to be the best way to achieve that look. So when we get here, we're gonna make a chain all the way to here. We're gonna go underneath one of these bands and then continue the hair down the side of the face. So I'm not exactly sure how many bands you're gonna need. So this is where it's free form. I think when I counted, it was like, you know, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do not want to stretch it. You want it to be very loose. If you pull this chain tight, her head will buckle. So you want it to be loose, and even if it's a little tiny bit looser than you think it should be, where you don't want it like this, you want it nice and loose, just like that. So we're going to continue down to the corner of the glasses. And depending upon where you started her part, you may already be there. I'm just getting there now. And I want to make sure it's nice and loose. So I'm going to go underneath, sort of almost barely underneath the glasses. And I'm going to put on some of her headband through there, and then here is the bands, her hair bands, and I'm gonna pull a band through everything that's on my hook, and this is gonna secure the hair to the head and help me change direction, because now we're gonna go down, because the hair goes down the side of her face. So I think maybe 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's see, no, a little bit more, 6, just like that. And remember, do not pull it tight. Okay, so on the last hook, which the last loop on your band, when you're happy with it, you're going to make a slip knot with this. And you're going to lay the hair flat, and you're going to pull it through onto the inside of her head. And for her hair, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to secure them with C-clips, because that way we can pull it out a little bit and adjust it if we need to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this C-clip for the next couple of strands of hair, and that is going to give a little bit of tension underneath and it won't come off. So let's do another one. Here I'm just going in the next spot over, and I'm just going to continue to pull through blue jelly, ocean blue jelly, and make a chain. And it's not how many bands are in it, but where the chain lays comfortably. Because if you're using a different type of band, or if you're pulling them really tight when you're putting them on the chain, they're going to stretch, and you don't want to do that. So I can't tell you exactly how many you are going to need for this part, because it's going to depend a lot on your tension and your type of bands. So I think that is really good and where I want to be, and I want to make that change of direction. So I'm going to secure it to the head. I'm going to loop it through underneath, and I'm going to pull a band through everything, through the head and through the hair. And then I'm going to go down. And it's okay that this is loose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So just like that. Remember, nice and loose. Make a slip knot on that last band. Line it up, pull it through where you want it to end, and we're going to attach it to the C-clip that's underneath. Just like that. Okay, so that's going to give us her hair. See, it looks like she's smiling. No, you're supposed to be frowning and unhappy. Let's do the other side. Same technique. I'm gonna start where her part was. I'm envisioning a part going down the side of her head. I'm gonna pull one band through, just like this. And then this one I think is gonna be around 6 or 7. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. Her hair on the side, where on this side of her head is a tiny bit shorter than on the other side. So I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to make a slip knot, pulling the hair down with no tension. Let's pull it through there. You know what, that's going to make it too tight. I want to add one more band because it's not reaching where I want to put it. So I'm just going to add another band and then make a slip knot. Yeah, that's good. So I wanted it to kind of get to the bottom of her, almost to the bottom of her glasses. I'm going to pull that through, and then I'm going to add a C-clip. Just like that. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to alternate from this side going down. I'm going to do one on this side, this side, this side, this side, this side. And as you come around this way, you're going to end up getting shorter and shorter. So you can see on this side, I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows here, and then I switched to a downward angle. And on this side, I just kept going all around. And you can see here where her head is buckling in a tiny bit. It's probably because I made it just a little bit too tight, and her head started to buckle underneath the pressure of the hair. So you want to keep the tension nice and loose, okay? I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and finish the head. Otherwise, watching, you know, this isn't something you can watch. It's pretty easy to do. I've showed you how to do 3 of them. So just go ahead and get the whole head covered with hair. And when we come back, we'll do the little flips on the ends that stick out. All right? I'll meet you back when we're done. All right, welcome back. You should have finished covering her head in chains of ocean blue, or whatever color you're using for the hair. And in mine, I see clipped about every 3rd or 4th chain that I did, and it made it so, you know, it's not loose or pulling or, you know, anything. So, and I kept it nice and loose so her head isn't losing shape. So now in Sadness has a little hair, it kind of like flips up. So we're gonna add some little bits right here to sort of give that effect. I'm gonna take a band and I'm gonna wrap it around 4 times, and I'm gonna pull through 1, 2, my bands are all icky. I want my bands to be straight. 3 and 4, just like that. And I make a slip knot on the end, and I'm gonna attach it in the reverse way. So I'm gonna, instead of coming from the down and attach it, I'm gonna go through and pull it through the bottom, right where the hair attaches. So it looks like the hair goes into the head and then pops out a little bit. And there's a mess of bands back there. Just like that. And then I'm gonna add a C-clip to it. And I'll put all my little hair pieces on that C-clip. We may need to straighten them at the end. Some of these bands I must have used another time and they are losing their shape. I'll try not to use those. Ah, and they have fuzz on them. I don't know what I use those for. So there's 1. So we've got our cap and then 2 more bands. So this is 3, and then we'll do a last one for 4 and make a slip knot at the end of that so we can attach it to the head. And I'm just going to go over to the next chain of hair and pull that through and attach it to our hair tail C-clip. They look like little tails to me. Let's do it again. Band wrapped around 4 times, and we're going to pull through 4. So it's 1. Oops. 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to pull it through here. And then I'm going to attach it, that C-clip. Okay. And after we get the stuffing and stuff in, we can adjust it a little bit more. But that's her head. Our next piece that we're going to work on is we're going to make the hands and her arms. So you're going to want to note the time because you are going to need to make 2 of these. So if you note the time really quick, and then you'll be able to rewind it to that spot to start to make the second one. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with her fingers. I'm going to take a band, I'm going to put it on my hook, I'm going to wrap it around, I'm going to wrap around again. So it's a 4-time cap band. And then I'm going to take 1 band, I'm going to double it, and I'm going to pull that through. So I've got a cap band and then a double band fold through, and then I'm just going to pull through one single band. So it makes a little nubby finger. And we need 3 more. So cap band 4 times, a doubled band, pulled through, and then 1 band pulled through regular. Cap band 4 times around, 1 band doubled, and then 1 band pulled through. 1 more, 1 band doubled. I wasn't actually able to verify how many fingers Sadness had because I looked at a bunch of clips and different things, so, and then 1 band pulled through. So I just went with 4, and you can pretend the other ones are hidden behind her if she has more, or if you figure out that she only has 3 fingers, but I think she has more than that, you could cut one off after the fact. Now we're going to make a magic ring with 6 bands to do her hand. Taking a band, wrapping it around twice, so we have 3 loops, and we're going to pull through those 6 bands. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. Hook underneath our first stitch on that one round. We're going to do another row of 6 in the blue. So here's our first stitch. I'll put the stitch marker on, and we're going to do a row of 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we have this little blue nub, just like that. Now I'm going to attach our fingers. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out. I'm going to slide it through all 3 bands that are on my hook so I can use it to save my place. Actually, I'm just going to hook it through the one so that it doesn't come out. And we're going to attach our fingers. I'm going to put 1 on this side, 1 through this side of that triple cap band, 1 through this part of the triple cap band, and then 1 kind of on this side. So they're not in a straight row, but when she has her hands together like this, you can't, I didn't think you could tell, but you are welcome to alter where you put your hands, where you put your fingers. And how we're attaching them is we're going to go up through, take that single band that we use, we're going to pull it through, go up and over, and pull it again. So you've got those 2 bands underneath inside, and I'm going to make a slip knot. And what I did to tighten my slip knot was I held the nub of the finger on this hand, and on this hand I pulled, and I could see it tightening, just like that. And you are going to end up with a lot of bands on the inside of the hand. So we're going to attach the other one going sort of through that cap band. Not sort of, it is going through the cap band. Just like that. Be patient, make sure you get your band through. I have lost mine, so I will grab it again. And luckily it's loose, you know, there's just 2 rows, so I've got it tight. I'm going to grab that finger and I'm going to pull so this one becomes tight. So there's my 2 fingers. I'm going to add another one to this side. Pull it through, up and through, this way. See, I accidentally grabbed onto one of those bands. I'm gonna pull it tight. There we go. So then we've got our 3 fingers on. We're going to attach our fourth one right there. I think I'm going to put it there. Just so they look. She's got the fingers. And there's a mess of bands back here. Total mess of bands, but that's okay. Because all this mess of bands actually is the stuffing for her hand, because we're not going to stuff it all the way down. We're just going to use those bands. All right. I get it. I did actually slip knotted it without even knowing. So there we go. So there's her hand with her little fingers. That looks really cute. So I'm going to turn it sort of inside out, and I'm going to grab those 4 bands that are here, and I'm just going to sort of twist them, make them into like a little bunch, and then stick them in the middle, just like that. So they're out of my way. Here we are back. This is where our stitch marker was holding, and now we're going to work on the rest of the hand and the arm, and that's going to be in white. We're going to do 2 rows of 6 to start with in the white. So here's our first. So I'm going to pull it through, and this is how I'm going to change color. I've switched to the seamless way of changing color. So I'm going to pull it through and make a slip knot. And this is going to be my first stitch here. This is 1, and this is 1. So I'm going to move to here. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our last stitch here is 6. When I first started doing this technique of color changing, I was having the hardest time with it because I was putting my hook through this loop here where I made the slip knot connect, not this loop. And my designs were like growing in a weird way because I was basically adding a stitch in each row. So here's our first stitch on our next round. So we're doing 2 rounds of white. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I actually gave up on using that technique, and then recently I tried it again and I was like, oh, that's what I was doing wrong. No wonder why. Okay, our next row, we are going to do an increase. We're going from 6 up to 9. So our first stitch will be a single, just 1. And then our next stitch will be the increase. So 1 stitch and then 2 stitches. Our next stitch is a single, just 1. Oops. And then we do an increase. 1 and 2. And then we're going to repeat one more time, a single and then a double. And that's going to pull us up to 9 stitches. Stitch underneath, hook underneath the stitch marker. We're going to do a row of 9 all the way around. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops, stitch not slip knot, 8 and 9. Back to the beginning of the next row. We're going to do an increase. So we're going to be doing singles and then a double. So 1 stitch, 2 stitch all the way around, and we'll finish with 1 stitch. And this is going to give us 13. So here's 1, 2 is the double, and then a single, and then a double. And then the single, and then the double, or 2. I always say double, but I mean 2. 1 stitch, next is 2, because a double crochet is something very different. And then on our last stitch there, we're going to end with just a single. And now we have 13 all the way around. So we need to do 4 more rows of 13. So I'm going to pause it so you can just do 4 quick rows of 13 and I'll meet you back. Okay, welcome back. You should have done those 4 additional rows of 13 stitches. And now what we're going to do is we're going to stuff it a little bit and seal it off. So I'm going to take some stuffing. Not too much. The hand is stuffed with bands, so really it doesn't really need to be stuffed with a lot. Just a tiny bit, like that. Just a little cotton ball size, maybe a tiny bit more. And now you want to fold the hand in half. Now you could fold it like this, your fingers, but I want my fingers to kind of be flat because in a lot of the pictures of Sadness, she's got her hands together. So I just happen to be lucky that the way my fingers were put on, that my, it's sort of like at the end here. But if yours happens to be like this, you're going to do the same exact thing, and you can start and stop and more than one time, but we need to just stitch up the side there. So I've got my hook through the current last band, and then this is the one on the last round. So I'm just going to pull a band through that, make a slip knot. I'm going to take my stitch marker off, and then I'm going to go to the next, and you don't really need to sew up every single stitch. I'm actually going to do every other one because we're going to be sewing this to her body. So I'm going to make another slip knot there. Just stitch it up. We are going to sew it again using the slip knots. I mean the slip stitch. It's pretty, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect at this part. Just sew it up and then make a slip knot. Okay. Oops, he's got some hand stuffing sticking out. I'll have to fix that. So go ahead and pause the video and go back and make another one, because you're going to want 2 hands exactly like this. So here are her 2 hands, and 2 arms, I mean. So go ahead and make that, and I'll meet you back and we'll keep going. All right, I'm going to flip my page. That's a good sign. We're on the 2nd page. And now we're going to do her sweater. And this is just a lot of rows that are the same, so it'll kind of go fast. There's less detail work for this part. Her sweater is white-ish. My son pointed out to me, Mom, her sweater is blue. And I said, well, I'm using blue for skin, so I need to have white for her body. I mean, for her sweater, otherwise it'll all blend together. I'm just working with the colors I use, that I was able to find. What we're going to do is we're going to make the collar of her, whoops, you can't see, sorry. The collar of her turtleneck. And then we're going to sew it onto her head. Stuff her head. We might stuff it I might stuff it at the end, because when I stuff it and I'm working like this, it's very hard to Loomigurumi and have it all stuffed. Then we're going to make the rest of the sweater all the way down. We're going to sew on her arms and get those situated the way we like it, and then we'll do the legs. And we're going to make the 2 leg pieces separately, attach them together, sew around her pants, and then we're going to attach it. And that's going to give us this bottom detailing of her sweater. Her sweater has lots of detail on it, and I tried to keep it simple because otherwise we were going to be here forever. So we're going to start the collar of her sweater with a chain of 28. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, oops, that was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So here's our chain of 28. And you want to put that cap band back on your hook so you have a loop. And if you just want to test to make sure, that it goes around. Unless you're really stretching your bands, it should fit. And I'm going to take one band and I'm going to make a slip knot to attach it. Just like that. Now we need to do a chain around, and we want to, I'm not sure if you've done this technique before. I think we did it on Joy's dress, but you want to make sure that your chain stays flat and that you're always entering at the same exact spot. So if you're holding it and making your stitches and it starts to turn, I have a tip to help you with that. So go through your cap band, pull through one, make a slip knot. This is stitch number 1. So you're gonna go however you decide to go to make the stitch, keep it the same. I'm always gonna go up through the bottom, and this is going to be 2. And I'm gonna make a slip knot. Go up through the bottom and make your stitch. So if you're having trouble keeping it flat, I actually used Anger, but he's downstairs. But you can wrap it around any Loomigurumi project you have already done, or something where it can give you some stability. So this is going to keep my chain flat and make it easy for me to stick my hook up and make my stitch. So you're just going to continue all the way around, and you want to make sure that you end up with 29 stitches. Whoop. No, don't come apart. It's too easy to come apart on this because her head is actually bigger. Okay, putting it on that sadness was making the tension too tight. It was making it hard for me to stitch, so I'm just going to stitch and hold it. But I'm always going up through my bottom, and I'm adding my stitch. You just want to make sure that this stays flat. Otherwise, when we continue, it won't look as nice because it doesn't lay flat. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a busy day today, and it hit 100 degrees. And every year on the first day that it hits 100, I always take my kids out to go get snow cones, and we couldn't do it today, so I think we're gonna have to try to do it tomorrow. But they're always waiting, is it 100 yet? I guess it's when the kids are little, and if you like snow cones, it's a good way to keep them not feeling down about the extreme temperatures. But The fact that it's late in July and we're just having our first 100 days is very unusual. Usually we're in the hundreds in June already. So that's kind of nice. They'll be super excited to get snow cones tomorrow. Have all these trailers in various parts of our city. There's one that we go to and the ice is shaved and it's almost like snow. That's the kind of snow cone I like. And there's another chain place and they have like their mobile units that drive around for fundraisers, and their ice is like, their snow cones, the ice is like a little chunky, and that's not nearly as delicious as the kind that's tastes like eating snow. Of course, I'm so old that my mom used to let us eat snow all the time when we were little. We would bring it in and pour maple syrup on it and eat it, and no one even thought about pollution, and good Lord, I would never let my kids do that. The snow. But when I was little, the ice looked so beautiful. Okay, here we are back at the start, and I'm ending in the cap band where I started. I want to make sure I've got 29 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and count. I'm going to put my stitch marker in this last stitch so that I can use my hook to count, but you want to make sure you've got 29 stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I'm gonna start over because I flubbed and I need it to be accurate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I feel like I'm counting teeth. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So it's perfect, just where I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take my hook. And actually I'm gonna, well, what do I want to do here? We're gonna attach this. I'm gonna leave the stitch marker in here because we're actually gonna attach this part to her neck. Okay, now we are gonna attach her sweater collar to her head. And as you can see, her collar is a larger size than her head hole. And I did that on purpose so that her head would look nestled inside her turtleneck. And we are not going to be able to sew it on stitch for stitch because of the differential sizes, the different sizes. So we're just going to lay it down, and you want to make sure that your row of 29 here stays on the outside. So we're just going to lay it like this, and we're going to slip stitch this together. And I'm going to start over here by her mouth, so I make sure that her mouth doesn't get covered. So I'm going to go into the row of her head, the last row of her head, and I'm going to align it up with one of the stitches from the single chain. That's the part that we're attaching. I don't want it to be too, I want to make sure it's not twisted. You want to make sure it's laying flat. So I'm going to go up through that single chain, and using white, I'm just going to pull a band through and do a slip knot. Now I'm going to slowly start to go around and attach it. But like I said, you're not going to be able to do a 1 for 1. So I'm actually skipping one. And I'm going to pull another band through. And make another slip knot. And then we're just going to keep going around, overlapping a little bit and stitching it together. I'm going to get my hook out from the middle of the inside there. And this will be all on the inside. So you kind of want to space it out to make sure that you're not, like, you know, sewing it this way so you have a big lump. So evenly space it out. You're skipping a stitch or two on your white and going through to where you think it's taut, not super tight, but at least getting, you know, no big holes, and just slip stitch it through. And this is going to give us the look of having her head inside a collar, the turtleneck. Oops. Come on there. So people talk to themselves. I guess I'm talking to rubber bands. Almost all the way done. I don't know if you can hear that dog barking. A loom in front of a window and my neighbor's walking by with her dog. It's hard to find a place where there's no other sounds. I had pretty good luck in this one. Okay, so here I'm coming to the end, so I'm just going to go through and pull and make a slip knot to finish it. And then this is what it looks like. So it's attached completely and it's giving the look of that turtleneck. And all of these extra things are fine because they're going to be inside. All right, so here is our last stitch on that row. And here's our first stitch on the next row. And we are going to do 2 rows around of 29 stitches. So we're going to probably stop and start a couple of times because we're going to be doing a lot of rows. So go ahead, do 29 stitches all the way around. If for some reason you don't have 29 stitches, right here on your cap band, you can put another stitch in to make 29. So You should have, 28 maybe if that happens, but the 29, you definitely want to make sure you have 29. All right, now I finished 2 more rows of those 29 stitches, and I'm back at the beginning. And for our next row, we are going to be doing it in the front loop only. We're not going to be going into both of those stitches, both of the bands on the stitch. I'm sorry, moving my stitch marker. We're just going in the front. And this is going to give a little dimension to the sweater, or turtlenecky sweater. So I'm just going to go around and do a row all the way around, 29 stitches. And I hope that you are having an okay time with this. It is lots of steps, and we're doing a lot of sewing together, and some of it is, well, piecemeal kind of thing and not exact. So I hope you're having an okay time. We're just doing the front loop only as we go around. I had lots of requests for this tutorial, and I'll tell you, if say someone wants you to make a dog, well, you can pretty much make it any way you want. Make it look any way you want. But when you're trying to create a character that's already out there, it's a lot harder. So this one took me a while. But I had a picture that I was going off of on my phone, and I just kept bringing it up and trying things. But that's kind of how I do it. But I'm not sure I'm going to be doing any more from this movie, though. At least not this time. Of course, if I can't think of any other ideas, I may have to do it. Bing Bong was the next character that most people had requested. Well, I think only one person did Disgust. But Bing Bong would be quite the challenge, I think. Since he's all these different pieces stuck together. So just that front loop only. And here we are back at the beginning. All right, now we're going to do a regular row around. So we're going through both of the sides of the stitch, just like this. This is row, of course I haven't been telling you the row numbers, but this is row 21. We're going to finish this row, then we're going to do 9 more rows, going all the way down our torso. Okay, so this is where we are now at that front loop only. We're going to do 9 more rows in total, and then I'm going to meet you back, okay? So finish this row, this is 1, and 9 more for a total of 10 rows that are just regular single Loomigurumi stitches, and I'll meet you back. Okay, welcome back. I finished those 9 more rows. So then we have a total of 10, and we are almost done with this part. I hope you're hanging in there. We have 2 more rows to go, and in this row, this is why I didn't stuff it. It was because I don't have enough room between my camera and my table here. We are going to do front loop only. So just do 1 whole row of front loop, and then we're going to do a row of regular, and then we'll attach the arms. So just going in the front loop all the way around, 29 stitches. We're talking about the summer and the heat before, but I actually can't believe how fast summer is going. It's going by really, really fast. At least it is for me. I'm sure some people are ready for have their kids go back to school, but I'm not. Like every parent, I need a break from them sometimes, but the majority of the time I enjoy being with them. And my kids I have a boy and a girl, and they're 2 years apart, but they still play really, really well together. And today they spent like almost 2 hours pretending they were hamsters. My son has a hamster, and they came down to get nuts and fruit. So we went through the pantry and pulled out all the nuts that we had. Peanuts, pecans, pistachios, almonds, raisins, and dried grapes, with some freeze-dried grapes. And they took water bottles and taped them to the side of my son's bunk bed. And then I guess they had made their bed inside his closet. He has a kind of a small room. And he has a good-sized closet. And they were able to load everything up in there and pretend to be hamsters. That was pretty cute. And while they were gone, I was working on a bracelet while they were off playing. I designed a bracelet and I needed to make a sample for a tutorial. Okay, so that was our front loop only row, and now we're just going to do a row all around of the 29. Just your regular type of all around. And that will be the end of the sweater. I know this is a big project. I had intended for it to be smaller, it just couldn't, I don't know. Once I had the head and I was like, oh, this is a great shape, this looks like it. Everything else was based off the head, and I guess I just got too big with it. Yay, last stitch. Okay, that's our last stitch. I'm gonna put my hook under where our stitch marker was, and I'm gonna end it with a slip knot. Just like that. I'll take my stitch marker out. A few more white bands to attach the arms. And there we go. Okay. She looks funny, doesn't she? Okay, so here she is. Sadness, and her arms are going to go on the sides. So I folded her in half right down by her nose and her eyes, so I can kind of see where I want my hand. And so it's going to go from right underneath the rib of the sweater around to the front like this, and you want to go right there on our stomach. Okay, So what we're gonna do is gonna line it up, and I'm just gonna grab some stitches underneath here, and I'm gonna go through the end, and I'm just gonna do a slip knot all the way down. A slip knot row, attaching it. You can do a crochet row, or you can do a slip knot row, whatever you think is going to work best. But you just want to get it. Oops. I did one slip knot and one crochet, but I think I'm going to continue with the slip knots because I think it looks a little bit cleaner. So we slip knotted it all the way down, and then I'm going to attach one last band at the bottom to do a slip knot, just like that. So that's her arm on one side, and we're going to attach her arm on the other side. So we're going to do the same exact thing right there in the middle, right below the collar, just like that. And I'm gonna sew it up again. So I'm gonna grab some of her sweater and go through the arm, pull the band through and make a slip knot, and then continue all the way up. Twist it there on my hook. That tight. It's going to take about 4 or 5 stitches. You can give or take a little bit more or less, if you, depending upon what your little lady looks like. Oops. And this there, right up here in the shoulder. Okay, I'm gonna slip knot that, just like that. I'm gonna pull inside my 2 bands that are from my slip knots, and if you want to make sure that they don't pop out where you have to keep tucking them in, you can just scooch your hook up through some bands and then just grab the hook them and pull them underneath those bands, and those bands are tight enough that it should keep it from popping out. I'm gonna do it on both sides, so you can just take your hook and go up where these tight stitches are and accidentally pull the stitch there. That's a way you can hide it too, just like that. Pull it up. So here are her arms, and they're flapping around, so I actually want to attach them to her sweater. So I'm gonna position her hands like this, and I'm going to attach it right below the wrist on the inside. So I'm just gonna go inside, go through her sweater, making sure I've grabbed some of her arms. I'm gonna take 2 bands because it's a lot to go through and make a slip knot. And now her arm is attached to her sweater. And I'm gonna do the same exact thing on the other side, just like that, because I want her hands together, because she usually has her hands held together. So I'm just going to go through the sweater and through the arm sleeve, pull a band through, make a slip knot. So There are her hands, and I want her hands together too. So I'm actually going to tack those down also. And I'm just going to use a blue, and I'm going to go up, take a blue band, and just tack her hands to the sweater, the front of her sweater. Oops, get my hook out. And this one too, just right there, so it looks like she's got her hands crossed, like she's just so worried. She's just so sad. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tack that one there too. And that is gonna give me the look that I want. Just like that. Okay, and the last thing we need to do is we really need to make this. I don't know how your mouth is looking, but this mouth keeps popping up and is looking not at all sad. So what I'm gonna try to do is to pull it down. Stick my fingers up here, grab the end of that gray band, pull it down, and I'm gonna tack it down so that it always stays down like this. So I'm gonna put my hook through the end of that and just go through some white bands here, and with a white band I'm gonna pull it through and make a little slip knot, and that is gonna keep her frown down so that it doesn't pop up. It's more like a little slit now. I'm gonna adjust it afterwards. Okay, now we're gonna stuff. So get out some stuffing. You're gonna need a good amount. We're gonna go up into her head, and you're gonna wanna, I was using this pillow for like the longest time, pretty much all of my projects that had any stuffing, and just the other day when I was making the sample, I used it up. So I had to go find the bag of polyfill I had. There we go. It was all over the place because we had used it for a school project when my daughter was in this last year. She was in 3rd grade, and at Christmas time we had made these little like sock snowmen. They were real cute. Okay, you will have a chance to stuff more inside Sadness as we go along. So because we are going to be stitching and working here, I'm not going to go too crazy. When we go to sew the legs on, when we get to the end and it's almost done, we can shove a little bit more in. But this is where we are so far. And I'm just going to clean up my supplies here and get ready, and we're going to start on the legs. So we're going to need ocean blue. You're going to need ocean blue, a light blue, and then I'm using the navy jelly. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to clean up. The next piece that we're going to work on for Sadness is her foot and the bottom part of her leg. So we're going to need ocean jelly, blue, and navy jelly. So we're going to start with a magic ring. And we're going to pull through 6 bands. So put a band on my hook, wrap it around twice, so we have those 3 rings, and we're going to pull through 6 bands. So here is 1 slip knot, back in. You're going to need to rewind the video to make a second leg, so you might want to note the time so it's easier for you to get back. Oops. So there's our magic ring of 6, and we're going to go back into the middle. And we're going to need light blue bands. We are going to do a row of 9, and we're going to increase from 6 to 9. So here's our first band pulled through, and since I'm changing color, I am going to do a seamless change with a slip knot. I'm going to put my stitch marker on this part here. This is our first stitch. So we're going into our second, and we're going to pull through 2 because we're doing an increase. 1 and 2. And then a 1 stitch, and then a 2. And then a single, ending with that 2 for the increase. And there we are back at our beginning. Our next row, we're gonna do 3 rows of 9. 3 rows of 9. So I'm gonna pause the video. We'll do 3 rows of 9, and I'll meet you back. Okay, now you should have added 3 rows of 9, and we're going to do 1 more row for the foot, and we're actually going to decrease. So we're going to do a single stitch. I'm going to move my stitch marker, and then I'm going to do a decrease, which means I'm going to grab the next 2 stitches on my hook and pull a band through. Single, and then the decrease. Single. And then in the last 2 stitches, we're going to do a decrease. And then we're going to take our stitch, put my hook underneath the first stitch on that last row. And I'm going to pull a band through and make a slip knot to end it. And then this is going to be our foot. And we can hide this band on the inside. Just like that. And it's not stuffed because our feet are kind of flat. And if you feel as though it's puffing up too much, you can go ahead and pull a band through to flatten it like that. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this. Now we're going to move on to the top part of her leg. I'm using the navy blue jelly. And what we're going to do for this, slightly different, is we are going to slip stitch a circle right on top of here of 8 stitches. And it needs to go from back from the toe part all the way around. So you're going to have to do a little bit of guesstimating on where you want to put your stitches to make sure that you get it exactly around. And I have done it I've done it 3 times so far, and all 3 times I've been able to get my circle on there and it looked fine. And you know, this one I was able to, you know, get it so it's even, and the rest of the stitches came up, you know, nice and even. So you'll be able to do it too. So you want to count out your stitches, and you just want to make sure that you're not putting them too close. So there's 8. So we're going to slip your hook underneath one of the bands and pull a band through and make a slip knot. Now with it on the hook still, you're going to go over to the next spot. You're going to pull a band through and make a slip knot. So that's 2 stitches. So I'm starting to curve to make a circle. So that's 3. I'm going to go to the next one, 4, and then I need to curve it again. So I'm going to go over here. And this is 5. I'm going to go here. 6, and I like the way I've done it because I've got enough room for to finish those 2 next stitches. So that's 6. I'm going to put 7 here, and then right here in that last spot I'm going to put 8. And even if you don't center it on your foot, you can just scooch it a little bit because it is a circle. And now it's perfectly in the middle. So I'm going to put my hook underneath that first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is right here It's not this slip knot where we attached it, but there's the actual stitch right there. So that's where we want to start our next row. And we're going to do a row of 8 all around. So here's our first stitch, and that will be where I'll put my marker. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and our last stitch is 8. And we've made it all the way around. Back under where our stitch marker was. Our next row, we're going to increase up to 12. So that's a single and then an increase. So 1 stitch to start. And then on our next stitch over, we're going to do an increase. 1 and 2. And then we're going to do a single stitch. And then we're going to do an increase. 1 and 2. Repeat it again. A single, and then I go in the right spot. Nope, double. Sometimes if you're not careful, you can end up in the same spot again. And then our last 2, we'll do that pattern one more time, a single and then a double. And that's going to put us at 12. 1 and 2, hook under where we started. We're going to increase again. We're going to 16, so we're going to do 2 stitches and then the increase. So here's our first stitch. Move in that stitch marker, and then a second stitch, and then let's do an increase. 1 and 2. So 2 singles and then an increase. So 2 stitches on one spot. 1 and 2. Repeating that pattern. 2 singles, 1, 2, and then the increase. Last pattern, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase. 1 and 2. And this puts us right back at the beginning. So now we're getting a little pant leg. So go ahead, so this is the finished pant leg. Go ahead and pause the video and make another one that's exactly like this, and I'll meet you back when you've got it done. Okay, so here are my 2 pant legs, and I'm going to secure this with a slip knot. Pop off the... Now we use this technique when I made Anger, and we're gonna repeat this technique. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna stitch together the 2 legs like this, and then we're gonna do rows around. And now if you remember, the bottom of her sweater was 29, so we want this to end up 29. And if I've calculated correctly, we are going to slip stitch 4 of the stitches together, and I'm hoping you can see it. It's kind of hard, and because it's a jelly, and I'm noticing with my lighting that you might not be able to see that well. Let's see. So we are going to put our hook through and attach 4 of them together. So I'm going to put my hook through the stitch on one side, through the stitch on the other side so that her feet are nice and even. I'm going to take one band, I'm going to pull it through both, I'm going to make a slip knot, just like that. I'm going to move to the next one, I'm going to do the same exact thing. So I'll pull a band through, and we're attaching the two legs, and then a slip knot. We're going to go to the next stitch. And we're going to make a slip knot. Oops. And then number 4, let's get it there. So that's our 4 stitches sewn together. Now we need to count and make sure that we have 29 around. So I'm going to put my marker right here, which is what I'm going to count my stitch number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. So so it worked out for me, so hopefully it'll work out for you, 29 stitches all around. I'm going to hide these bands on the inside just so they're out of my way for the next step. Okay, while I was hiding those tails just to get them out of the way, a special guest came in to join me today. You want to say hi?
Hi.
This is my 7-year-old son, and he wanted to be in the video, and he quickly wanted to show a Lego creation that he made. So bear with us. What is this?
It's an anti-gravity train.
An anti-gravity train. Wow, this is fantastic. And you created this by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Is there any features to it?
It has the door comes out.
Oh, look at that.
It unhooks, and the cockpit lid comes off.
Okay, gotta hold it down.
But you need to get the yellow brick on it.
Whoops! Oh no!
Yeah.
Oops.
I can fix it.
Why don't you snap those pieces together, and I'm gonna start my row. So we're gonna do 29 stitches all the way around, and we've counted so we know. And I put my stitch marker where I'm gonna start. Wow, you are a master builder. You were able to finish that all up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 1. So we're just gonna do 29 all around. Is there anything else you want to show us?
I have some super soldiers.
Some super soldiers, okay.
Yeah.
You want to slide them over?
The first one is blue.
Slide it over a little bit more.
He's from the Arctic.
He is amazing. Does he have any superpowers?
He has Arctic powers.
Arctic powers.
And there's also the Super Kid program.
And what is around him?
It's a rubber band.
Rainbow loom band?
Yeah.
We've got lots of those.
I just did it because I found it in my Lego lab.
In the Lego lab.
And there also is another Super Kid soldier. I couldn't find a helmet for her, so I just put hair.
Hair works, doesn't it?
And the skin color is different. Like, her skin color is yellow. And now I'm going to present to you green. He's half Martian. I took Martian Manhunter apart and I made him out of it.
Amazing.
He has plant power.
What does that do?
It's kind of like poison ivy. And there's red. I made him 2 masks. He has real.
And what does the red power have?
Detail. It's fire.
Fire. What is soggy detail?
It's like he doesn't have a lot of detail, but
okay.
orange has the most detail of all.
And what's his power?
I haven't come up with a power, but I think I should not show the last super soldier.
Why?
Because I don't have it with me.
Well, that is a very good reason why not to. All right.
But the last super soldier is white.
White. Does he have a superpower?
Yeah.
And what is that?
He can blend into anything white.
That's very creative.
I made it up.
Well, it sounds like you've been busy.
No.
All right, so we're just going around getting those 29 stitches. And almost back to where we were before. And I'm just going to go ahead and count to make sure that I'm where I need to be. Okay, I counted up my stitches and I did need to do one more to make it 29. So I'm just gonna pull my last one through and back at the beginning. And I believe our special guest is gonna be exiting.
Bye.
Say bye, we'll see you later.
See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile.
All right, so we're gonna do one more row of 29 around. And this is actually our last row, and well, our second to last row, because our last row will be attaching the two pieces together. So we're just gonna keep going around. I think I've mentioned before, if you've watched some of my other videos, but my son, he is 7.5. He's going into second grade, and he is obsessed with Legos. So our house tends to be covered in rainbow loom bands everywhere and covered in Legos everywhere. My 9-year-old used to like to play with Legos, but she hasn't been playing with them lately. They're all in a bin in our playroom, and she has not used them in a while. She mostly likes to, well, she's a huge reader. She just loves to read. And so she reads most of her days. She does rainbow loom stuff. She has some American Girl dolls. Hopefully I'll be able to get a picture of it. But she actually created a Loomigurumi little sweater or a shrug for one of her mini American Girl dolls, which I thought was amazing. It's blue and white. Looks really cute. And she thinks she's not good at Loomigurumi. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's very good at it. She's very good at looking at something and then creating it without a pattern. We're almost there on this super long video. Okay, last stitch, come on. I'm gonna put my hook under, and I'm gonna make a slip knot to end the row. Ta-da! We're done. Oh, I'm so happy. Okay. So we're going to put a little bit of stuffing in the bottom of the legs, just a little. And like I said before, we can add more. It's not going to be a big deal. Like that's even too much. Actually, I'm gonna hide this. Just gonna slide it up and pull it down. And I'm just gonna take that piece I had and I'm gonna rip it in half and just put those halves in there. That's what she'll look like when she's done. Almost there. Okay, blue off to the side. We're going to use white to attach it. You only need about 29 to 30 more bands. I am going to stuff her white stuffing in the white part as much as I can. And I'm going to start in the front because I want to make sure that we're lined up properly. And I'm going to hide this band. If you haven't already hid your hide your bands, I think that's a good time to do it now, just to pull them under, get them attached. So I wanted to start in the beginning because I want to make sure that my legs are going to be lined up properly, like evenly in the middle. Actually, I think we could start in the back. I think it'll be okay. Yeah, let's do that. So here is how we are going to attach it. So the legs get slipped inside like that. And we're going to pull it back out a little bit. And we're going to attach. So here is this first row. And we're going to push it to the side because we want the blue part to be attached underneath. And I'm going to go up in between the two stitches. So underneath here, where you would normally put your hook, I'm going to go up underneath it and grab these two. And then I'm going to grab my stitch, making sure it's even. I'm going to go over one I don't think I was lined up. Just like that. And I'm going to pull a white band through those stitches, just like that. And then I'm going to make a slip knot. I'm going to move over. So that was the first one. So underneath my second one, right under here. And this we are lining up stitch for stitch because we're 29 on both. So I'm going to pull through. I'm making a slip knot stitch. Just like that. So I'm going to go, so here's the next stitch. I'm going to go underneath it and grab that stitch underneath. I'm going to go here and I'm just going to go all the way around and do a slip knot. And I thought my Pusheen video was gonna be long. It'll be interesting to see how long and this one turned out to be. I'll chatter while we do this. I normally film my videos all in one day, and this is the first video that I filmed over multiple days just because I didn't have the time to do it all in one shot. So hopefully you won't be able to tell too much of a difference, although I just gave it away, that it was filmed at night and at day with people in the house, with a quiet house. But I wanted to get this out since we are going to be going out of town tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be able to edit the video together and load it on YouTube. Loading and processing on YouTube take forever. If you've ever loaded anything before, you know how long it can take. When I did Anger, I think it was like 200 minutes. and I ended up having to like delete it several times and then reload it. So it was just taking forever. Having a little bit of trouble with this because she's in the way. Her bulkiness. What's it stitch? Going up and under. I hope you guys are doing all right. Following the instructions. Okay. I'm a self-taught crocheter. And I learned before there were YouTube videos around. So I'm using a lot of my own techniques when I design things. You can see that right in the middle of her body is the middle of her leg, so I'm happy with that. It was nice and clear placement. Try not to get any of your stuffing stuck. This is a pain. Oh goodness, we're almost there. We have a movie theater that you can order food at and eat in. They have food and drinks. Not just popcorn, but like pizza and burgers and full menu. And they have a summer program where you can just donate a couple of dollars and go and see a movie for free. And the other day we saw Muppets Most Wanted. I don't know if you've seen that movie. But I grew up watching the Muppets and I really wanted to see it, so we went. And my daughter thought it was okay, but my son, he really loved the movie. He thought it was really funny. And when he got home, if you've seen the movie, there's a heist in it. And they're trying to steal something and it has like a laser grid preventing them. And the guy has to do like a bunch of acrobatics and flips and jumps and stuff to try to get the jewels. So we created a laser maze in my bedroom and in the hallway that went with yarn, and the kids spent several hours trying to, you know, negotiate their way through the laser maze. It was a lot of fun. It was a good indoor activity since it's been getting hotter here. Okay, oh good, I'm so excited. All right, when you get around the back and you've got a space open, we're gonna stuff a little bit. I'm gonna wanna stuff a little bit more in there because I don't feel as though it's gonna be secure enough. So actually I'm gonna take my hook out. I'm just gonna put my stitch marker in to hold that stitch. I'm gonna take my hook out so I have more room to negotiate. And I'm gonna stuff some more stuffing in her feet and in her back. So you can go ahead and do that if you'd like. I didn't want to have it fully stuffed because I didn't want the stuffing to be interfering with my stitching. And all right, I love that. That looks good. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out, my hook, and I'm just going to continue on these last couple of stitches. Oops, going up and under. And see, it does get in the way. It wants to pop out. Whew, there's nothing better than finishing a big project. One more stitch. Oh my Lord. And on that last stitch, I'm going to pull tight, and then I'm going to hide this loose band up inside. And ta-da! She's done. Yay! If you made it through this whole video, congratulations. It was very long, but it was a much requested item, and I know it uses a lot of bands, but I hope you enjoyed it. It would be great if you could like this video if you did enjoy it, and give it a thumbs up. And it would also be awesome if you would subscribe to my channel. That way you can find out when my new designs are going to be coming out. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure enjoyed making it for you and sharing it with you. Have a great day, everybody, and keep looming.